Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the topic of saving time in DV360. I'm Michael Turner, a managing consultant at Incubeta, and joining me this morning is programmatic consultant Greta Pizzini. Our agenda for the next half an hour is focused on Greta deep diving into features that we've found provide the largest time-saving opportunities within DV360. This will include practical demonstrations where necessary, but before we get into the specifics, I wanted to cover some theoretical background on how time saving has been core to DV360's design since its conception. In this respect, each new capability is simply an incremental improvement to a product that has always been geared towards time efficiencies at a fundamental level. The key word here is consolidation, and I've highlighted two examples of this concept here. Firstly, DV360 is part of a wider Google marketing platform. This unified suite enables a consolidation of the technology used to manage marketing operations. So one example of how this works in practice is that creative placements can be created in the suite's ad server, Campaign Manager 360, which then syncs natively to DV360, rather than having to be re-trafficked for the sake of the buying tool. Shortly after DV360's first launch under the name of DoubleClick Bid Manager in 2012, the Boston Consulting Group conducted a survey to see how its native integrations affected campaign operations. They found that it reduced time spent by up to 33%. Then, Programmatic Guarantee was launched in 2015, utilizing an integration with Google Ad Exchange, or Google Ad Manager as it's now called. This meant that reservation buying could be conducted through the programmatic pipes of DV360. BCG conducted another study to see how its streamlined planning, setup and execution workflows compared to that of traditional direct deals. And they found that media consolidation methodology was on average 29% more time efficient for media buyers. One of the many reasons for this is that it eradicated the usual process of troubleshooting and reconciliation of data discrepancies for multiple systems. Of course, all the time saved can be reinvested in more strategic work to improve the effectiveness of the campaigns. So as Greta talks us through the agenda, have a think about how you might reinvest that time if there's a feature that you are currently not utilizing. I'll now leave you in Greta's capable hands, and I'll be checking for any incoming questions. So please submit these as soon as they occur to you, and we'll be sure to leave a few minutes at the end of the session to cover them. All yours, Greta.
Thank you, Michael. So the features I'm going to take you through today are automated bidding, the optimization view, bulk editing, and finally structured data file. So let's dive right in with automated bidding. So alongside traditional fixed bidding or fixed bidding with bid multipliers, in DV360 you're also able to pick from a few algorithms. These help traders save time, not only because they don't have to go into the platform and manually change the bids of their line items, but also because these algorithms can get signals and learnings from the whole advertiser in DV360 and nuance the bids at line item level, therefore saving you a lot of time in not having to do this. The signals the algorithms present in DV360 use are from audience, so things like user list IDs or where your audience is or what day of the week it is. They're also on the content that your users are reading, such as website or an app, creative signals as well, and finally what kind of device they are using. There's quite a few algorithms for you to pick from in DV360, so let's just have a quick look at them. Starting off from the top two, these two are ideal for branding campaigns, so maximize viewable impressions or video quality, depending on whether you're serving a display ad or a video. These are great as if your goals are things like achieving a certain cost per viewable impression or a certain percentage of completed views. If instead you're looking to drive traffic to your website, then maybe one algorithm to consider is minimize CPC, as this would optimize towards clicks. And then if you're having a performance campaign, then the conversions algorithm, minimize CPA, is the one for you. And this should be used when you'd like your users to take an action on the website, such as making a purchase or downloading an app. Finally, it is now possible to upload your own custom algorithm to DV360, and this will be ideal for any marketing objective, and it is useful if you're trying to optimize towards KPIs that are not the ones that I've just mentioned. So custom KPIs such as return on ad spend or your own GA goals. One thing to mention here is that to really make the most out of this algorithm, it's important to select the right goal at insertion order level, as this will help the platform suggest you more suitable optimizations for your line items. Another feature that I've included here in the automated bidding section is automated budget allocation. So this is essentially that checkbox that you see in this screenshot, automatically optimize your budget allocation. And what this feature is doing is distributing the budget between your line items based on their performance. So if you have an insertion order with several line items and you don't have a set amount of budget that you need to spend in each, but you just need to spend it in that specific insertion order, then this feature is something that you should try. At least you should test to see how this performs for you. There are a few cases in which this feature is not recommended though, so I just wanted to highlight them. First one being very short campaigns. So if your campaign is less than 2 weeks, then this feature is not ideal, as it wouldn't leave enough time for the platform to effectively redistribute the budget. It's also not recommended if you've got a mix of bid strategies, if you only have one line item, and if you have YouTube line items in your insertion order. So unless you're in any of these cases, I would definitely recommend you to give this a go and see how this performs against setting a set budget for each line item. And now let's move on to the optimization view. So you may be more familiar with the performance view, so the part in the screenshot that is highlighted. By default, it will show you the performance view, which is what you're used to, seeing the impressions, how much budget has been spent, clicks and conversions. But if you go on that menu, you'll see that there's a few more views, including a custom view. So I'm not going to talk about the custom view too much today, but that in itself could be a time-saving technique, as in that one you can pick the metrics that you want to see without having to flip through different views. Today I just wanted to talk about the optimization view, and the purpose of this view is to show you how your line items are performing against your insertion order goal. So once again, selecting the right goal is essential so that the optimization view can give you useful information. And this is what an optimization view looks like. Apologies if the screenshot is a little bit small, but I've color-coded things, so even though you're not able to read, you should still be able to follow. So here I've got a few line items, and the blue arrow is pointing towards the performance versus goal column. So what that column is showing you is for each line item, how much better or how much worse than the goal it's doing. So that's some useful insight there. The purple arrow is showing you the suggested budget. So this is if you've got set budgets for line items, this will tell you how much more or how much less budget that line item should have for optimal performance. And then on the right-hand side, you will have your recommendations panel. So the orange arrows are pointing here to the suggested optimizations. So here you'll see if there are some line items that haven't spent, some line items that are underperforming, or any optimization suggestion. And finally, in the recommendations panel, you also have direct links to the troubleshooter. So where you see investigate in blue here, that will take you straight to the troubleshooter so you can see where you're losing your impressions. And I think this is a really useful view, as it allows you to see a lot of things without pulling any reports, and could be the perfect first step into checking your line items and see what can be improved. The next feature I wanted to take you through is bulk editing. So in order to use this, you have to select one or more line items, as I've done here in my screenshot. Click on action, and then this menu will pop up. So I've highlighted here in red the bulk editing functions. So what bulk editing allows you to do is to edit a variety of settings, including pacing and budget and targeting in your line items. You can also archive and duplicate your line items. And something that has been recently added is that you can actually continue working while you are archiving or duplicating a large amount of line items. This wasn't possible in the past. So if you were duplicating a lot of line items, then you had to wait a few minutes for the action to be complete. What you can do now is just keep working, and you'll be notified when the duplication has been completed. So that's a great update over there already. The one thing that I wanted to mention, though, is that there are some limitations in bulk editing, and that is if you're trying to apply settings to line items that have different targeting already. And an example of this would be, for example, here I have 3 line items targeting each different audience, so audience A, B, and C. If I wanted to add one more audience to all 3 of these, I couldn't, as bulk editing would make all the line items have the same targeting at the end. So if you have, if you're in this situation and you cannot use bulk editing, that's where structured data files, the next feature that I'm going to take you through, can really help, as they allow you the greatest flexibility in making your amendments. So structured data files are CSV files that you can download from the platform, and they show you the structure of your campaigns in a spreadsheet format. They contain almost all the information that is available on the platform, and the way they work is for you to download them, edit them in Google Sheets, making your amendments, maybe changing the targeting, maybe adding an audience, removing an audience, and then re-uploading them to the platform to implement the changes. So I'm going to jump into the platform right now and show you a couple of examples in which SDFs really helped me to save a lot of time when editing my campaigns. So let me just share my screen now, and I will start the demo. So this is my advertiser view, and I will now take you through 2 real-life examples that happened to me and in which I use structured data files to save time in DV360. I'll take this demo prospecting campaign to show you, and I'll take the affinity insertion order. In this insertion order, I have got 5 line items, each targeting a different affinity audience. So in this example, let's say that you have different start and end dates for each of these line items, and you've just been told that these are all changing, or some of them are changing and some are not. Since they have different settings, so different start and end dates, you cannot use the bulk editing function over here, as they have different flights. And if you go here and try to edit them, what you can do is just overwrite the settings. So may have a new start date for all the line items or a new end date for all the line items, but you can't have different ones. So this is where structured data files come in handy. You can download the structured data file either from here, just by SDF download, or from the three dots on the right-hand side. And then you have to select what level of detail you want. I'm happy with the line item view. And depending on how many line items you're working with, this may take a few seconds to a few minutes. And while we wait, I wanted to tell you that it is better once you generate your file that you also edit it in Google Sheets as opposed to on Excel, as editing it in Excel may lead you to formatting issues when you re-upload the file. So you'll see in a moment that you'll have the option to save this file in Google Sheets. Here we go. So do that and then also open the file in Google Sheets. Here you'll see that you have a generated structured data file name. You have your line items ID, the insertion order they belong to, what kind of line items they are, and literally all the information about your line items is stored here. You'll see that this is a very, very big file and all your settings are stored here. So what you can do in this case, so in my case, I have to change the start and end dates, is just go in this area, change the start and end dates to whatever the brief wants me to, and then just save the file. So what I like to do is always to document what kind of change I made and what version of this file I'm working on, as sometimes you may need to download and re-upload the structured data files a few times, and this may get confusing, so I like to give it a clear name. Then you have to download the file as a comma-separated values sheet. And this is fine. And then you can go back to the platform, close this window, go again on the three dots and upload your file. Again, according to how big the file is, this may take a while. And there are three outcomes from your upload. So the upload can either be successful, unsuccessful, or partially successful. So if your upload is successful, that means that all the changes that you've made have been applied. If the upload is completely unsuccessful, that means that no amendments could be implemented. While if it's partially successful, that's where it gets a little bit tricky. But you'll be able to download two files, one with the line items in which you have successfully applied your amendments and the ones that haven't been changed yet. And that will usually give you an explanation of why it couldn't update them. This is usually either a formatting issue, or maybe the start and end dates don't quite make sense, or the format you used is not the correct one. Another example in which I find structured data files to be extremely useful is when, for example, you need to add an audience, for example, an audience exclusion from all your line items. Similarly, these line items have all different settings, so I can't use the bulk editing function here, as that would override my targeting. So I'll do exactly the same thing. So I will download structured data file, line item, and wait for it to generate. And in the meantime, I will look for an audience ID that I can exclude. So For example, I'll take the media and entertainment ID. So the IDs that you find in the platform are exactly the same IDs that you can then use in your structured data files. So I have just copied this ID for media and entertainment, and my file is ready to be opened in Google Sheets. At this point, I have already uploaded the date change v1 file, so I can get rid of this tab. And I can name this tab audience change v1. And I have now copied the audience that I want to exclude. So I'll just go to the area that relates to the audience targeting, which is here, affinity and in marketing include, and affinity and in marketing exclude. So I want to exclude the same audience from everywhere. So I'll just copy this ID and drag it down. You'll see that this kind of targeting ends with a semicolon. So let me actually add that so that formatting is correct. And once it has saved this, I can download the file again as a CSV and go back to the platform. Close this window, close this, click on the 3 dots for upload, and drag the file here. So while these two cases that I've shown you are just 2 quick examples, of course, you can apply what I've just done here to any amendments that come your way, and especially when you're working with a lot of structured data files, this can save you a lot of time. Another thing that I wanted to add is that structured data files are extremely useful not only for targeting changes or optimizations, but they're also great if you need to QA or audit a campaign, as they can give you just a 1-page view of all your line items. You can check if the brand safety settings were applied everywhere, if the audiences that have been applied are the correct ones, and so on. So let me just go into one of these line items to show you that the changes that I've applied are actually here. And yes, we can see that the media and entertainment affinity audience has been excluded from this line item, and all the other ones too. So I hope you found this useful. I will now go back to the slides and take you through some key takeaways of this webinar. Great. So now we're back on the slides, and just wanted to highlight a few key takeaways of this webinar. So first of all, we looked at automated bidding and automated budget allocation. This can help free up a lot of your traders' time and optimize your delivery. Also, the Optimisation View provides you with a lot of information without pulling any reports directly from the UI. Bulk editing is also a useful feature, has a few limitations, but definitely something to use on a day-to-day basis. And finally, structured data files are the way to go if you need to do any major edits across multiple line items. And I also wanted to talk about next steps. So if you're already doing all the things that I've just mentioned today, there are other steps that you can take to spend even less time in the platform. And that is by using the DV360 API, which is the programmatic interface to communicate with the DV360 UI. It requires coding skills, and through the API, developers can automate workflows such as creating campaigns or amending your line items without even being in the UI. If you're interested in the DV360 API, visit the link that I've put here in the slide, developers.google.com/products, and select DV360 API to get all the information on how to get started with this. And I think that's all for today. So I just wanted to spend the last few minutes taking any questions that we have received in the chat.
Thank you, Greta. Lots of helpful tips there. We do indeed have a few questions to cover in our remaining few minutes, so let's get straight into them. Question one is, can I use custom bidding without writing a script?
Yes, actually for a couple of use cases with custom bidding, you can use a new feature that's been added in the UI in the past few months, and that's the goal builder. So over there, you'll be able to assign some weightings to your floodlight activities or even optimize towards ROAS without writing any code. So that's really helpful.
Cool. Next question is, what metrics can I have in a custom view?
Oh, well, a lot of metrics. So you're able to select all the performance metrics, so impressions, clicks, conversions, but over there you can also see pacing metrics and also quality metrics like viewable CPM or brand safety metrics.
Thank you. Next question, can I duplicate a campaign in a different advertiser?
Yes, so it's a great question. Yes, you can. So as I was saying, structured data files are very flexible. So you can download a structured data file from one advertiser and upload it into another one. The only thing to watch out for is any ID that is advertiser specific, such as first-party audiences. So you have to delete anything that is advertiser specific, and then you'll be able to upload it into another one without any errors.
Great. A couple more. Is there anything I can change from the UI that I cannot change through an SDF?
So there may be a few limitations with YouTube, but one that comes to mind right now for display is the targeting expansion. So with an SDF, you're able to enable this feature or remove it, but you're not able to change the level of expansion through an SDF yet.
Okay, squeeze in one quick last one. Can I edit campaigns across multiple advertisers through an SDF?
Yes, provided that they're in the same partner.
Great, thank you. That also concludes our three-part DV360 webinar series. So there'll be links to the previous two installments on audiences and creatives if you missed those. Thank you very much, Greta, again for the benefit of your experience, and thank you everyone else for attending. Enjoy the rest of your weeks. Bye-bye.